When the power goes out, most homes do not feel like they are failing. They feel inconvenient. The lights are out. The room is quiet. The Wi-Fi is gone. Someone reaches for a phone. Someone says it is probably not a big deal. That is usually where the outage gets ahead of people. A normal home does not stop working all at once during an outage. It sheds function in sequence. And the early losses are often the ones that make the rest of the night harder. Most people think nothing serious is happening at first, except the lights going out. That sounds reasonable. It is also how a manageable outage starts turning messy. Because the first problem is not only what switched off, it is what the house no longer does for you without being asked. If you read the moment as darkness and inconvenience, you keep acting like the house is still normal. And that is when you start losing time. The first mistake usually happens while everything still feels calm. People keep moving through the house the same way. They keep using devices the same way. They keep opening things, checking things, and walking into rooms as if the house is still carrying the same load it was 10 minutes ago. It is not. Normal life depends on quiet support from the house. Light in the right places, easy charging, easy communication, rooms that are usable without preparation. Once that support is gone, the house does not fail dramatically. It starts asking for setup. One of the first places you feel that is communication. The router drops. Easy internet access disappears. That does not sound severe, but it changes the house right away. Now updates take effort. Messages matter more. A phone stops being casual. It becomes light, information, and contact with the outside. That shift comes early. So does the pressure that follows it. Because once the phone matters more, batteries start shaping decisions inside the house. This is where a lot of homes lose ground without noticing. People use battery like they're still in normal life. Bright screen, repeated checking, casual use. Charging the wrong thing first. The outage still feels small, so battery discipline feels optional. It is not. The battery you waste early is the battery you want later, when the house is darker, slower, and asking more from you. And once battery matters more, movement changes. Now, simple tasks have setup cost. You need light to do ordinary things. You carry it with you. You leave it on the counter. You go back for it. You make a second trip because you do not want to cross the house again in the dark. You delay small tasks because they are not worth doing twice. That is when the house starts narrowing. You stop using it like a whole house. You start using it like a few workable zones. The hallway needs attention. The stairs need intention. The kitchen takes longer. A room at the far end of the house stops being worth the walk unless you really need something from it. That is a different kind of pressure. Not no power. Not no light. More effort per task. And once every trip costs more, tasks start bunching together. You wait until there are 3 reasons to go upstairs. You carry more in one pass. You postpone one thing because it is annoying to set up light for it. The evening starts organizing itself around what is easiest to reach, not what makes the most sense. That is when the kitchen changes. Not into a disaster, into a timer. People get this wrong because the fridge still looks fine. Nothing appears ruined, so they keep treating the kitchen like normal. But the clock has already started. Every casual opening matters more. Every unnecessary check takes something away. The kitchen is no longer just a place to use, it is now something to manage. And because that still does not feel dramatic, people stay casual longer than they should. By this point, the house is asking for more from you everywhere at once. More battery, more walking, more setup, more attention. And once all of that is true at the same time, normal routine stops holding the house together the way it did an hour ago. Meals are less simple. Charging stops happening in the background. Light has to move with the task. A room that was useful an hour ago may no longer be worth using now. Small jobs start waiting because they need more setup than they used to. The house begins to narrow around a few usable areas. People drift toward the same spots because they are easier. Tasks start stacking in those spots. The rest of the house does not become impossible, it becomes expensive in effort. The outage is no longer one missing utility. It is a house that now charges you time, movement, battery, and attention for ordinary things. Not collapse, not chaos. A normal house becoming awkward to operate in small ways that keep adding up. And most of the stress does not come from one big failure. It comes from 10 smaller penalties landing at once. Once you see that clearly, the first hour stops feeling routine. You stop asking only what turned off. You start looking at what the house is charging you for now. Which room are you already avoiding? Which task now takes light, battery, or a second trip? What in the house is already on a timer? What are you still doing out of habit that no longer makes sense? Because that is the first hour problem. Not just loss, cost. The job is not to pretend the house is still normal. The job is to catch where normal has already ended, while the fix is still small. It means catching it early. If you miss that window, the outage gets heavier by degrees. Not enough to shock you, enough to make each next decision worse than it had to be. A normal home does not fail all at once during a power outage. It sheds function in sequence. Communication weakens. Battery starts mattering. Movement costs more. The kitchen moves onto a timer. Normal routine stops holding the house together around all of it. If you wait until the outage feels serious, you are already late. By then, the house is asking more from you in every direction. More planning, more walking, more battery, more attention, and less room for dumb decisions. The first hour is where control is easiest to keep. It is also where most people give it away, because the house still looks mostly fine. Once you see that pattern clearly, the next mistake is easier to spot. Most homeowners do not lose control first because they have no backup power. They lose it because they are solving the wrong part of the problem. And that usually starts with the wrong question.